Hi everyone, my name is Shauna in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be reading negative reviews of my favorite movies. So I think this is going to be extremely funny or I'm going to get extremely mad. Let's see how this turns out. So I'm using the handy dandy IMDb and I'm going to user reviews. I'm going to click filter by rating and click on 1 star. And this is 1 out of 10 stars. So if you're giving 1 star to a movie, it's a really bad movie. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is my favorite movie, so let's read some of these reviews. Worst interpretation ever. To say I was disappointed is an understatement. Half-Blood Prince is among the weakest in the series. Half-Blood Prince is the most disappointing film of the summer and the worst Harry Potter film so far. Honestly, no. Like, if you are gonna say that one is bad, you're gonna either have to say Chamber of Secrets or Deathly Hallows Part 1. I don't understand why you'd say the Half-Blood Prince is the worst. Like, sure, it's not a perfect adaptation of the book, but it is pretty enjoyable and incredible. Harry Potter and the just don't even. I mean, just don't even with your review either. Why'd you post that? 2 thumbs down. The darkest book in the series turned into a rom-com. I can see that. I can empathize with that. Yeah, I feel that. Waste of time. Harry Potter and the Half-Bloods suck. Fans need be disappointed. Fans need be disappointed. Okay, interesting way to word your disappointment in the movie. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince sucks. Yes, because capitalizing sucks makes it suck so much worse. Very, very frustrating. Smells like a stale cauldron. Why? What the bloody hell was that? Opinion of someone who hasn't read the book before. I feel like these reviews are supposed to be longer, but I'm just seeing the titles. Oh my gosh, I've just been reading the titles. Okay. So let's read this one of opinion of someone who hasn't read the book before. No spoilers from here. Some people claim the movie is perceived better if you hadn't read the book before because you don't expect certain things to happen. So the sole fact that the movie is different from the book, which isn't bad by itself alone, doesn't make you angry. Well, exactly for this reason I never read the Harry Potter book before I see the corresponding movie. So I watched Half-Blood Prince being as clean as possible without any expectations whatsoever. And guess what? Even from this point of view, this movie just sucks. I don't necessarily agree with that. I would say, like, I'm not the type of person who would say you need to read the book before you watch the movie. The only one that you need to do that for the Harry Potter movies is the final movie, because there's a scene in there that doesn't make sense without the context of Half-Blood Prince. Also, like, I think I saw Half-Blood Prince before I read the book, and I had a really different opinion than this person because I thought that the movie was good, and then I read the book and I thought the movie wasn't as good as I originally thought it was, but I still really enjoyed it, so I don't know. Why are people so negative all the time? Like, why not just take things at a surface level and enjoy it? Oh well. I won't write long lists of things that were presented in the book but not in the movie like other fans. These didn't actually annoy me when I watched the film for the aforementioned reason. You can just count on a lot of things being unexplained and completely unclear, simply leaving a lot of loose ends, and some things don't even fit. I mean, I can agree with that. In the Harry Potter movies, specifically in Deathly Hallows and Half-Blood Prince, there's a lot of things dealing with the Horcruxes that aren't thoroughly explained, that are explained better in the book. However, as I said, just take things at a surface level and you'll enjoy movies so much more. If you haven't read the book like me, you won't understand plenty of things, and if you've read it, better keep away from the movie to not ruin your mood. You know, sometimes with movies I get genuinely confused, but I would say the Half-Blood Prince is not one. Like, maybe this person just wasn't paying attention enough because I feel like it wasn't that confusing. Okay, so I'm not gonna read the spoiler section, but let's read another review. Let's find one that looks funny. Oh, okay, I found one to read. J.K. Rowling should have murdered the screenwriter and director. Sure, it's full of impressive visual effects, I'll give you that, but besides that, it's a dreadful waste of a good novel and our time. You shouldn't the main focus of the 6th one be training Harry to fight, instead of cramp it with high school drama, who likes whom, who's jealous of whom, who wants whom. The story was broken down into tiny pieces that don't really connect to one another. I don't for those didn't read the book. How do they understand everything? Great grammar and everything there. That's a perfect sentence. Why are they keeping Yates as the director? There are hundreds of much more amazing ones who can do the story justice. I mean, how many films have the scene of a creepy dark lake and all of a sudden something comes out of the dark water to drag the main character into the lake? It's so cliche. Now I really worry about the last 2. Hope they won't be so disappointing. Why do people blame the director for a bad movie? Because, like, they have to get the content from the book. If you think it's a bad movie, it's partly J.K. Rowling's fault. And then, if you really love the book, and it's not an issue with, like, the plot and whatnot, then, like, go go to the screenwriter. They're the next one, and then the director. So, like, yeah, this person in the top said J.K. Rowling should have murdered the screenwriter and director. Maybe instead of taking your hate out on Yates, take it out on the screenwriter or the person who actually made the movie what it is, because a director doesn't, like, write the lines of dialogue and everything. So, I don't know, it's always weird to me when people are like, oh my gosh, I hate this director, and I'm like, they weren't the one that wrote the movie, yo. Let's move on to the next movie. My phone keeps dying, so I had to readjust how my phone is sitting so that I can finish recording this while my phone is charging. So the next movie that I'm going to be looking at negative reviews for is Catching Fire. This is my absolute favorite one out of all 4 Hunger Games movies. I think that it was the best book to movie adaptation that I've seen in terms of like actual like sticking to the book pretty well. So let's see what the reviewers say. Boring, yawn, good ratings, a mystery. Catching Z's, unwatchable nonsense as stupid as can be. This elaborate mess of a movie couldn't be more boring and silly. The premise is astoundingly dumb, far worse than the original, and a non-existent plot you can see coming a mile away. Not really, but go off, I guess. The acting is wooden, the emotions fake, and direction dull. Okay, some of the cast isn't great at portraying emotion. Some are, you know. I will admit that part of that is true for some of the cast, not all. I would say this is for kids, if not for the whole murder aspect, but you would have to be a child to like it. It comes off so hammy and unreal, I think I was about to fall asleep about 10 times. Please don't make a third one. This is what we can expect from a generation of writers who have no sense of real drama. The Harry Potter and Twilight crowd who flock to this garbage like a moth to a flame and come out raving about it. Okay then, that's interesting. A waste of money. I felt truly ripped off. Awful. Great reviews and mystery. Sci-fi wouldn't touch this one. Unbelievably stupid in almost every sense. Let them starve. That'd be more entertaining. I mean, you have a really dark sense of humor, if that's your sense of humor. But I think there's like a Starving Games book, so go read that, dude. I have been assured that the Hunger Games books are better than the films. I agree with that. After seeing an endorsement from Stephanie Meyer saying The Hunger Games is amazing and watching both of the films, I can't say I'm convinced that it was ever a story worth telling, let alone filming. I'm sorry, I love Twilight, but you really did not just imply that Twilight is better than The Hunger Games. Like, no, that ain't happening. Hunger Games is obviously superior. Catching Fire is a long, narcissistic, dumb, nonsensical, slow, and many other things. American-born actress Elizabeth Banks ends up sounding like an English person trying and failing to do an American accent rather than someone who naturally has one. Lenny Kravitz as Katniss's fashion designer was the strangest piece of casting since Rihanna in Battleship. Rihanna was in Battleship? I haven't seen that movie, but that seems odd. Okay, he gets beaten up just as Katniss is ascending into the game room, and like almost every other event in the movie, you don't really find out why it happened. It is just an excuse to cue in Jennifer Lawrence for some more jaw out, mouth open, gurning at the camera. She looks like a bland office intern rather than a 17-year-old firecracker. Whoa, okay then. There are many other unanswered questions. Why is the magical wire allowed into the game? Why is the game trying to kill the participants when the original point was for the Capitol to enjoy watching them kill each other? To answer that one, they just wanted to make it more fun. I mean, I think that's literally the reason why, and also because if you just let them kill each other, like, they might band together and never kill each other, or it might be, like, really slow before they all find each other and get each other. It just speeds up the process so the game doesn't last a full year, you know? Okay. Why bother being sentimental by putting an elderly lady into the game to only then have her wander off into some poisonous mist and not be spoken about again? Why must Katniss stay alive to save her boring family? Are the answers in the book? Probably. Will finding the answers make the film any better? Probably not. I mean, they will, but okay. It's the kind of heavy-handed allegory that eventually makes you feel like anyone portrayed as a victim in it probably deserves the fate they are dealt. The only saving graces are Philip Seymour Hoffman, who rises miles above anyone around him, one scene that resembles Hitchcock's The Birds and another that resembles Black Swan, which serve as reminders of bigger and better films that never felt the need to resort to the hero and heroine telling each other what their favorite colors are. Green and orange, apparently. I admit I did not really like the color scene, and I am not a Katniss and Peeta shipper, aka a penis shipper. Still is so funny to me that's penis. Next up, Avengers Endgame. I really love this movie. I do have some issues with it, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm hoping that these reviews will say my issues and then I can just agree with them, but I don't know if they will. Terrible ending to a 22 movie arc. Monumentally disappointing. Also, Joe Russo gets cast as a gay extra in his own movie. Does he? What? Oh, that is interesting. He does. Okay. I didn't know that until now. I'm learning new things, you see, from this video. Let's see what this person says. As a huge fan of Marvel, I can say that the characters I know and love that I expected to see in the grand finale of a 22 movie saga were nowhere to be found. Fat Thor was played off for jokes too much. Agreed. Captain America was more Thor than actual Thor. Professor Hulk was just a boring character. Agreed. Thanos was nothing like how he was in the infinitely superior Infinity War. Agreed. Time travel rules was just cheap writing. Yeah, I had some issues with that. There was some plot holes there. I admit that, but it was fun. An easy way out of a complex predicament crafted by two people with minimal creative abilities. The plot was littered with holes and just boring. This movie was not exciting. One of my biggest problems was the stupid one-liners and cheap jokes. This movie was not meant to be funny. There's room for humor, but there also needs to be room for plot and suspense and seriousness. Another of my biggest problems was lifting Mjolnir. Did I say that right? I might have said that wrong. I have no problem with him lifting it, but it was anticlimactic. Good idea, but butchered in execution. I don't say this lightly or out of arrogance or vanity, but I, as a 15-year-old kid, could have created a better movie. Also, the greatest part of the film, Joe Russo got cast as a gay extra in his own movie. Okay, I have some thoughts on this review. First of all, if you didn't think that Captain America lifting Mjolnir was impressive and, like, didn't, like, send shivers down your spine or whatever, I don't think you watched it in theaters. It was definitely a movie that needed to be watched in theaters, especially for that scene. And if you're one of the lucky people, then everyone was clapping during that scene. My theater was dead silent, which was awkward, but I was still like, oh, and my heart was like racing, and I'm getting like goosebumps on my arms, okay? This review says a lot more about the person than it says about the movie. What I get from this review, the guy writing it is named Oliver. I get that this is a man who likes to feel manly and doesn't like when things don't make him feel manly and aren't manly. There was no mention of any of the females in the movie, which there was quite a few in Endgame. All males, and all the complaints were upset that Thor wasn't as male and manly as he wanted, Thanos wasn't as manly and epic as he wanted. Like, it says a lot more about the guy writing it than the actual movie, I think. And also, I saw the humor coming. Like, we saw a drastic shift in the Marvel movies that are coming out with Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp and Thor Ragnarok. They definitely took a shift from, like, very serious to funny. So it wasn't unexpected what happened in Endgame with everything being funny. I agree with some things that this 15-year-old reviewer said. I don't agree with other things. Stupid movie, the worst Avengers of them all. Russo bros missed the mark. Poor Thanos. Why are you feeling bad for Thanos? I need to read this review. One of the best comic book movie villains was ruined. Who writes this thing? Time travel? Really? Result. Film full of plot holes. Unsatisfying deaths of main characters Tony and Natasha. Previously cool, now ruined characters Thor and Hulk. I feel like Thanos today. I'm gonna stop reading reviews for Endgame because they're frustrating me, because it feels like people are upset that men aren't as manly and like strong and stuff like what men want. Like, a lot of people like Marvel for a lot of different reasons, and I'm just like getting the vibe from these reviews that if I keep digging further, I'm gonna discover a lot of toxic masculinity. So I'm gonna stop reading Avengers Endgame reviews right now because I'm done with this crap. If your only complaint for a superhero movie is that the characters aren't manly enough, and if you are not brave enough to even admit that they're not manly enough for you, then maybe you shouldn't be writing a review or complaining. Maybe you should just like suck it up and deal with it. I mean, women suck up and deal with the sexualization of women nonstop in movies. You can deal with a movie not having a manly man. You know what I mean? Like, it needs to be said. It really does. The final movie that I'll be looking at reviews for is Swiss Army Man. This better have funny reviews because Swiss Army Man is... I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if I'd say funny or like so bizarre that I sat there and in my head I was going WTF over and over again in my head. So it was an interesting movie, and I'm hoping that the reviews are just as good as the movie. And this has Daniel Radcliffe in it, obviously. That's the reason why I watched it. So let's read. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's pure torture unless you're an 8-year-old boy. Let me read this review. So this movie is not appropriate for 8-year-old boys. I'm just saying that. It is very much an adult movie. I would say if you're under 15, or under 14 maybe, don't watch the movie. It's not appropriate. So I'm a little confused where this person's coming from. Seriously, IMDb is usually pretty good at scoring movies, so I don't know how they grossly overrated this film. It's hard to decide which is more insufferable, the juvenile subject matter or the fact that this film about a flatulent corpse that watches up on the beach has pretensions of philosophical depth shielded by the world's longest fart gag. Paul Dano stars as Hank, stranded on a deserted island and about to end it all. When the long-dead Manny, Daniel Radcliffe, washes up, a buildup of gastric air provides propulsion and Hank is able to ride his new friend like a jet ski made of rotting flesh. And that's just the first of Manny's surprising uses. How the CIA could choose waterboarding when torture like this exists, I mean, just wow, save your money. Okay. Next up, dumbest movie I've ever seen. Probably the most ridiculous film I've ever watched. I agree with that statement, but I also like the movie. WTF, perfect last words. Awful, disgrace of a movie. Idiocracy, spot on awful. Really? Artie Farty made a movie and Trudy Pooty was there. Let's read this review. Come on now, the first 15 minutes of the movie was propelled. I don't know why there's an A there. Come on now, the first 15 minutes of the movie was propelled by a corpse farting. Yes, it was. Literally, those hoping for an updated Weekend at Bernie's will be disappointed. I've never seen Weekend at Bernie's, so I don't know if that is anything like this movie. I doubt it. As if that weren't setting the bar low enough, it wasn't funny. No one was laughing. I left 50 minutes in, after the lead actor drank vomit a second time. Really, 10 lines are needed to describe the stink of this turd for real? Valid criticisms. I'll say that. And the final review that I'm going to read for this video, BS on steroids. If someone told me the author of this story was a frequent user of LSD or other psychedelic and or psychotropic substances, I would believe it. I mean, I believe it for Alice in Wonderland, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same for this author of the movie or writer of the movie. This is just utter nonsense, and the story doesn't have any deep meaning to it. IMHO. What does that mean? IMHO. Literally, the internet says it's common knowledge that IMHO stands for in my humble opinion. Common knowledge? Who has that as common knowledge? I don't have that as common knowledge. It's just drivel and a waste of time, money, and energy. Don't get me wrong, I'm not being prudish since the farting etc. didn't offend me per se. The story is just so unbelievably pointless. I would agree, but I still like the movie. The ending sort of like contradicted what I thought the meaning of the movie was, which was a little odd. I watched the whole thing. Why, I asked myself. The acting was quite good and even excellent at times, but wasted on a BS storyline. When I read some of the great reviews this movie is getting, I wonder if it is a sign of the dumbing down of society. How can this be considered an excellent movie by so many viewers? I wonder. Sometimes people just like dumb things because we want to laugh about dumb things. And that is the case for Swiss Army Man. So, yeah. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. All of my other social media will be linked down in the description below. I highly encourage you to read negative reviews of your favorite movies because they will make you laugh. They are so funny. I upload videos 3 times a week, so I will see you tomorrow for my next video. Goodbye!